Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Allegiant. So today, I am in my full Candor faction uniform, and that is so that I can bring you a very honest review. I really enjoyed Divergent, was super let down by Insurgent, so I was coming in with a lot of skepticism, but still clinging on to hope. And overall, I would say Allegiant begins to right the ship, but it is far from a great movie. So let's go ahead and just divulge into the details, shall we? So I think this movie kind of splits down to half and half. Half of it is really solid, half of it is really weak. And the entire first act of the film is really weak. I mean, that first third just trudges along at a painstakingly slow pace. And then we pick up, the action kicks in, the new story, the new environment, all of this fresh material is presented to us, and it re-engages the audience. Then we wane a little bit, and then the final act really brings it all home. And you leave wanting to know more. You leave excited for that final film. Unfortunately, there's just so much that could have and really should have been taken out of this film that you're kind of left wishing it was all just one last movie instead of splitting the book into two as they did. But what actually makes that first third bad isn't fodder material, because it's necessary for the most part. It's the fact that the sound editing and sound mixing is terrible. I mean, it is just really, really bad, to the point where guns aren't heard how you really want to hear guns, talking and empty space are not utilized properly. It just is a horrible job at editing the sound and even mixing the sound. It sounds bad. But it's not aided by a very choppy, edit job as well. I mean, to begin this film, the edits are horrible. They come in about 5 seconds too early, and then they linger at the end of scenes about 30 seconds too long. We never are really coming in and leaving scenes where it feels authentic to come in and leave the scenes, and that just leaves for a very amateur hour feeling film. For that whole first act, this seemed like something I should be watching at a college fair. It should be a final project. It's very high quality, but we still have some work to do. You still have some learning to go through. That's not really what you should be thinking when you're watching a big budget franchise film. And unfortunately, the special effects are not up to par with the other young adult adaptations. I think that the Divergent series really relies on special effects, and this one more so than the other two combined, really. And they just didn't have the budget, they didn't have the means, didn't have the time, I'm not really sure, a combination of all three, to get the special effects right. It was a lot of green screen, a lot of floating bodies, and a lot of really odd effects throughout the entire film. But you're able to get past those effect flaws when the story is moving along. I like that we have really evolved into a more political landscape with the Divergent franchise. We're getting into a much meatier, much heftier storyline than we saw with just be yourself, be a standout, so on and so forth. Now it's much more about control, government, trusting your government, and, being an ethical leader. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a great message, it was done very well, and it's a very timely message as we enter into this 2016 political race. And I think for the most part, our actors do a great job. For the acting portion, I think Shailene Woodley is good. I'm not really buying her as a action hero here. I don't know, she seems to have actually regressed with the physicality of the role. Like when she's running or scaling walls, I was just like, oh, you look so flimsy and uncomfortable, I don't understand. But when it comes to the meat of the role, I think she pulls it off very well. Theo James is wonderful as Four. I actually think that he's kind of the heart and center of this film, even though Tris is our main character. Miles Teller is wonderful. And Ansel Elgort is also very, very good. He brings so much nuance and I think probably the most sophisticated performance out of anyone in the entire film. But I have to give a shout out to Naomi Watts because I think she does a fantastic job here. It's wonderful to see a very established, older, veteran actor or actress not phoning it in. And unfortunately, that's made all the more evident with her great performance next to Jeff Daniels' sleepwalking performance. I mean, he really just showed up for the paycheck, and I hope he doesn't do that in the last film. I hope he decides to put in a little bit of effort, because it really just was kind of a bummer to watch him put nothing into this role. And Octavia Spencer is really good for the tiny little role she's given. I wish they would expand her role, give her more to do, because she is giving it something. She does bring a lot, actually, to the franchise. She just isn't given enough to do to really shine here. But overall, the action is much better than in the second movie. It keeps you entertained, and it leaves you excited. The last full act of the film, I think, is really, really solid, really, really entertaining. The second act, for the most part, is really entertaining. If only it had just found its ground and, you know, tightened up the entire first act, this would have been a really solid, fun time. Instead, we're left with it was an alright movie. Better than the second, not as good as the first. So if you're a fan of the franchise, I definitely say go out and see this. I think you'll enjoy it. And if you've enjoyed the franchise more and less, I think this is a good, solid matinee. If you're not on board with the franchise yet, why start on the third film? Red box it, or just skip it. Because obviously, this isn't your cup of tea. So, why even watch it? So, that has been my review of Allegiant. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited for Allegiant? And what did you think of Divergent and Insurgent? Let me know in the comment section down below or hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!